and welcome. I am Karen Panetta, and I'm honored to be the 2022 IEEE Awards Board Chair. We're here today to celebrate the 2022 IEEE James H. Mulligan Jr. Education Medal sponsored by MathWorks, Pearson, Lockheed Martin Corporation, and the IEEE Life Members Fund to Dr. Ned Mohan. Dr. Mohan, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
And joining us here today, we have our Howard Wolfman, who will introduce himself. Howard.
Thank you, Dr. Panetta. Yeah, I represent the IEEE Life Members Committee. I'm the current chair of the committee. We have about 38,000 life members around the world involved in all facets of IEEE and computer activities. And we are very excited and very happy to be one of the sponsors of this medal. We exist basically on contributions to the Life Members Fund. So when we allocate our funds, we're very careful to make sure that they go to meaningful uses. And supporting of this medal, which provides recognition of the activities that have occurred by people in the teaching industry, is just very exciting to us. And on my own situation, I've been an adjunct professor at the University of Illinois Chicago for the last 20 years, and a few other things, one foot in industry, one foot in academia. So I understand and appreciate all the work that you have done in not just your own university, but on a global basis in furthering education. So again, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Robert.
And also joining us from Pearson is Holly. Holly.
Hi, I'm Holly Stark, Product Manager for Engineering and Computer Science with Pearson. Warm congratulations to Dr. Mohan. Pearson is very excited and proud to have been a long-time sponsor and supporter of the Mulligan Award, which represents best of class in education, engineering education, which is, as you know, very important to us. And you join a very impressive list of outstanding engineering educators, and we're just very proud to be a supporter of this, and congratulations again.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So let's talk about, for our audience, first of all, what Dr. Mohan has received this medal for. You are a rock star in establishing sustainable energy, renewable energy, smart grid, consortiums of schools to service the entire world, and it's free. So let's just, first of all, before we get into that amazing program, let's talk about what, number one, how did you even become an engineer? And number two, why renewable energy? How did you get into this?
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Panetta, for such a wonderful introduction. Like a lot of things in life happens by chance, happenstance. And so that's my story, how I got into engineering, especially electrical engineering. So, and then I took a little detour and did my master's in nuclear engineering as well, because I was very much interested in, electricity as a basic human right. Because the places I grew up in India, sometimes we had no electricity, and at that time it was not all that difficult. But now that we are so used to electricity, if it goes away for even a couple of minutes, we get all excited, what happened. but we know that electricity is a basic human right.
Now, wait a minute. Now, before you became an electrical engineer, you told us that we almost lost you to mechanical engineering. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So the school that I went to, IITs, one of the IITs, Indian Institute of Technologies in India, there's a common entrance exam. And based on your performance, you're designated to go wherever they think that you should go. Okay, so my preference, of course, was mechanical engineering, and that too at IIT at Kanpur, which was started with the help of the United States. But that's not where my score lied. So I was told to go to this IIT near Calcutta, which is also a very good IIT. Actually, it's one of the oldest in Kharagpur, and I was told to study electrical engineering. So I didn't have much choice. So I studied electrical engineering, and then again, one of those things. I applied for higher education to Canada. I was accepted at a school, a University of New Brunswick, on the east coast of Canada, just north of Maine. And then I happened to come to University of Wisconsin, again by happenstance, seeing that it was really a party school. And so I was interested in partying, and that's where I met my, wife, who became my wife. Say the most beautiful girl in the whole state of Wisconsin, but she's not a girl anymore. This was 49 years ago, so I can tell you that.
Well,
And
I just have to add in there that this is great because as a role model, you just dispelled that engineers do not know how to party. So all of our young people out there now say, okay, we can, it's okay to have both
yeah,
sides of this. And what made you, I mean, back then, climate change wasn't, nobody, it was a thing. Nobody's really talking about it, but you really dove right in. Why climate change? Why renewable energy?
so at that time, Dr. Panetta, climate change was not a word in our vocabulary, but we certainly knew the role electricity plays in our life, right? So it was electricity in that sense, but then climate change sort of became obvious when these books like Population Bomb came out from Dr. Ulrich and at Stanford and things like that. So it showed what our planet is heading towards. So I was quite aware of that, and in 1980, I was instrumental in getting some funds to install a windmill on our campus. It was an offshoot of CDC, Control Data Corporation. Okay, and I have been interested in that, and that has served me very well because climate change is big concern these days, and it'll be increasingly more. It's not going to be diminishing. Actually, it will be increasing, unfortunately.
Right.
So
You are at a research one institution, and most professors, I don't want to categorize all professors, but they do their own research. They have to do research. They have to bring in money, and it's about funding their own labs.
right.
But you took it way beyond. You discovered and said, I'm going to do something truly impactful for the entire world. And you came up with the Consortium of Universities for Sustainable Power, or CUSP.
Yeah.
And you want to make it free. How did you even come up with that concept? And how do you pull together, can get consensus from everybody else who's working in their own little niche, bringing in their own money?
Right. So again, I thought that including education, which has been my passion with research, it's a great opportunity for every professor. If some young faculty is listening, they should realize that as a professor or an instructor at a research university, we have the chance to bring our research enthusiasm to the class. Whereas if you are in a purely educational institution, you can still do that, but it's not that easy. You have to go far beyond to bring that in your education. But here it's kind of natural because you have to do research, otherwise you're shown the door, so to speak, right? So and you like to do research. It's not that it's forced upon me or anybody else, but so it's much easier. And if you look at it from students' point of view, respect begets respect. You cannot command, cannot demand it. You can only command it, okay, by respecting others, right? Students, how you like to be respected, so to speak. That golden rule that we all have heard of. So so it has served me well, and I think I would say that to anyone who's in academia, to follow this path, that combine your research, which you must do, but also with teaching. So that one thing led to another. All the funding we received was based on making it freely available of these courses. So that's how CUSP came about. All these universities and even more. I think there are probably 300 universities in the U.S. that are teaching this subject, right? So we can reach out to everyone. Although MIT and Stanford don't need us, but even they can,
Mhm.
at least they can contribute. They may
Mhm.
not learn anything from us, but they can teach us something, right?
Mhm.
So, and so I think, and then with these laboratories, they are hardware laboratories, so we have to have some kind of a startup. So University of Minnesota was
Mhm.
instrumental in getting us started with a company called Sciamble. Okay, and so Sciamble is actually making these labs, and making it, providing it to whatever school
Mhm.
wants, right? And that's where I mentioned that I have no financial interest, you
Mhm.
know.
Oh,
So
thank you for that.
yeah.
Howard is an expert in industry. Howard, what's your perspective? What do you have to say about all this?
First of all, I think it's just amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
And the question I've got running through my mind in the plethora of things that you have done, you have accomplished, not just direct teaching of students, but authoring textbooks, uh, research, visionary in many, many different areas. What is the one thing in terms of your accomplishments that you are the most proud of, and why?
Well, Howard, what I would say is that uh, I got into this field of power electronics, and that power electronics is kind of an interface between, let's say, renewable energy like harnessing energy from the wind or sun using photovoltaics and the utility grid. So again, that field is something that I did not really study when I was at University of Wisconsin-Madison. So after coming here, uh, you know, I met my mentor, so to speak, Professor Tore Underland in Norway. And I happened to meet him in Cincinnati at a workshop. And I said to Tore that you should come to Minnesota. It's second Norway because we have so many Norwegians here. So he took my advice seriously, and he spent his sabbatical here. And so we started to develop notes, and which turned into a textbook. And I was able to convince my colleague here, Professor Robbins, to join us. He is a very talented person with his BS and MS from MIT, and then a PhD from University of Washington in Seattle. So together we all worked, and that's how these textbooks developed. And so they're not only good for using in your own classroom, but then they also become useful in other places. So again, it's a question of not a question, but it's a being at the right place at the right time. So we just happened to be at the right place at the right time when we came out with this textbook, and which at one time, Wiley told us that it was being used in 190 universities in the U.S. alone. So there was a big demand for it, and then it got translated into 6 or 7 languages, all major languages, Chinese and Korean and Spanish and other languages. So it all happens by chance.
Okay.
So I like to quote, this is an open recorded session, but
Mhm.
somebody asked uh, you know uh, Einstein that what he thinks of accident. He said there are no such thing as accidents. It's a God's way of remaining hidden. Whether it's true or not, I have no idea. Neither did Einstein know, but so it happens by accident. Yeah. So.
Mhm. Okay. So Holly, you represent Pearson. You textbooks are, and education is your business. Can you comment on some of the impact of that Dr. Mohan has had in the business, or have questions about it yourself?
Yeah, I mean, definitely power electronics is and sustainable energy are, really hot topics and really trending. One of the, I guess, challenges that I hear about is just, there's so many things that should be taught, but then there's these core courses that must be taught, and it's just a struggle to get it all to fit within the required syllabus. And I'm curious, with that consortium, how did that play into sort of schools, required curriculum and standard curriculum and prerequisites? How are you able to navigate that?
So, we were on a quarter system. A lot of universities had quarter system. And then we eventually transferred to semester system. Now most universities are on semester systems. So when that happened, we took a very serious look at our undergraduate curriculum. And the conclusion we came was to teach less rather than teach more. Okay, so what we thought that we had to develop, very concise undergraduate core courses. Okay, and so we said, okay, for example, take one course of electric power. There were several courses being offered at the undergraduate level, and we thought that we should concise it to just concentrate into one and stop teaching legacy topics that not only take up time but also give a wrong impression as if they are still being used, right? So we did that for power systems, power electronics, and electric drives. So we have this 3 core courses that allow students to take associate courses and sort of have a broad education, because we felt that undergraduate is not the time to specialize. Okay, because when you graduate, you have no idea where your passions lie and where you'll get the job opportunity. Okay, it may so happen that you may do nothing with related to power after you graduate and get employed, right? So that was our starting point, to keep it very broad based at the undergraduate level, and then we were able to attract a lot of students. So our class sizes grew, 3 to 4 fold. I remember teaching a class in electric machines and drives. At one time, I had 19 students, and at the other time, later on, I had 120 students.
Wow.
Okay. So that shows the difference. Those numbers have come down lately, unfortunately, and we don't know the reason. We're still, scratching our head as to why those numbers have gone down lately all across the country, not just in our department.
Mhm.
So that was the starting point, and then we said, okay, if you're doing these undergraduate courses in this manner, the graduate courses that we offer, one should be able to seamlessly transfer from the undergraduate to graduate. So they were designed, these undergraduate courses, to provide the seamless education. Okay, and they were kind of physics based. So mathematics was of course, you have to have mathematics. You have to, in order to simulate and so forth, you have to write differential equations. You cannot get away from that. But the concepts we tried to describe, in a physics-based manner. Okay, so there you can, very quickly describe. And also the other thing was to, show the synergy between different topics.
Right.
That each topic that we cover is not in isolation. There is a connection. Okay, so if you take the basic building block and you explain it properly, then it's really connecting those building blocks, right? Like Legos, that type of thing, right? So that was that allowed us to teach. I used to joke, but probably it's not a joke, that we could teach twice the material in half the time.
Mhm.
So
And I have to follow up on this because, everything you just talked about the, not teaching the breadth first, but teaching, depth first,
Yeah.
testing the breadth. It seems so counter to what's ingrained in academia today. And as a dean, I know working with faculty, building consensus is a huge challenge for all of us. How did you build consensus? Was it like herding cats, or did everybody jump on board?
Yeah, no, I think in academia, it's not easy to make everybody see your own way, right? So it's like you probably have heard of Robert Reich. He was Clinton's labor secretary. He was at MIT before he was a Rhodes Scholar also with Bill Clinton. So he was giving a midday seminar, and he said that we know in business it's dog eat dog world. In academia, it's the other way around. Dog eat dog. So it's a dog eat dog part. But so a person cannot do much by themselves. Okay, you have to have teamwork. You have to bring people together. Okay, and that requires a give and take. Okay, so in academia, all of us have big egos. Okay, if you want to be the superstar, right? So how do you convince your colleagues that it's really not an individual effort, but it's a team effort,
Mhm.
right? So if you sit down over a cup of coffee is good, but beer is better, I think. And I think everybody listening here is an adult. I hope it's a live session, but you come to a consensus that yeah, that's the right thing to do, and it has worked out for all of us. You know,
Can, can you talk about, did IEEE play a role in bringing people together for that beer?
yeah, yeah. We used to have those sessions where we have discussion in the evening after the regular day sessions where there was beer on which we discussed, but it was optional. You don't want nobody has to. Nobody was forced to drink beer, by the way. So okay.
And what societies are you a member of from IEEE?
Well, I'm a member of several power and energy society for sure, and then industry applications, power electronics, and maybe a couple of others, right? But certainly, I pay more attention to power electronics society, and also to power and energy, and also industry applications.
Mhm.
So those are the three main societies.
And it's kind of interesting because there's not one home. You've got all these interactions going around, and there's a place that you learn from the experts in each one of them. So I think that shows also how interdisciplinary
Yeah, yeah.
your field is. Howard?
Yeah, just an observation. I completely agree with your last statement about the various IEEE societies. I'm a member of all the ones you mentioned, plus a couple of others.
Sure.
And as my career changed and grew over the years, I found I could draw upon a specific society for that technology. And I found people were just friendly, they were willing to share knowledge with me. Even my competitors in one situation
Yeah.
shared knowledge with me.
Mhm, mhm.
And I'm very pleased that I've had the opportunity to learn from and to serve as an active member of the IEEE, as you have done. And it makes for a better society when we all do that.
Yeah, IEEE has played a huge role, and I have tried to contribute not as much as I could have, but I have. I was the technical chair for this annual meeting we had in 2010 in Minneapolis of Power and Energy Society. So we have over 2,000 people. I didn't do very much, but I was the technical chair. And so it was a great way to interact, and I have always participated in IEEE society meetings. I used to go to, it used to be held in wintertime in New York,
Mhm.
near Madison Square Garden, so we used to go and have a good time. And so you learn a lot by these listening to, and actually, the nowadays the biggest draw is networking with other people, you
Mhm.
know, all those who show up, and against, and not against, but again, over beer sometimes.
So let me, Howard brought up a really interesting point about how, as his career evolved, he needed different societies to learn about different technologies. What role do you think artificial intelligence is going to play in climate change or sustainable energy? You have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. I think all these new technologies we have, artificial intelligence, data sciences, machine learning, they will all play a role, and but it's not either or. We should not forget about this old-fashioned engineering,
Mhm.
because look at renewables. If we are going towards 100% renewables, we will need a transmission infrastructure which is probably 2 or 3 times bigger than what we have. Okay. Now somebody has to build it, right? But you may build it intelligently rather than in a dumb manner, right? So artificial intelligence, and so just give you an example that I have a PhD student who was doing his research on a topology of a power electronics converter to interface photovoltaics to the grid. Okay, and he came up with a topology he thought was fantastic. Then he found out that somebody had already done it, and he found that there were something like 17,000 papers on those topologies. He said, how am I going to find something new here, right? So now he's using neural networks, how to train neural networks to optimize operate these photovoltaic cells at their maximum power point. Okay, so that's using these newer technologies, let's say, and learning new things. So I'm an advisor, and I don't know anything about neural networks and how to train them. Okay, but then again, you rely on your colleagues. We have a fantastic computer science department here, right? And there are some people in EE already who work with neural networks, and he can reach out to them and get. But I had a long-winded answer, but all these things would play a role.
Yes, absolutely. So, and I think that one of the things you just mentioned, you are going to learn artificial intelligence and neural networks and training from your students.
Yeah.
So they'll make sure that they keep us up to date on things, and that's part of, you have been a fabulous mentor.
Thank you.
What advice would you have for new people or new students starting out?
Well, I would say that, look at it from their point of view and it will bode well for the instructor as well. So I have a student, you mentioned his name, Ted Brecken. He's a professor at Oregon State University. And his teaching is totally based on as if he was a student. What would he like to learn, right? So he's always thinking along that line. And he has, received so many accolades and awards. Not that he wanted to get it. His mission was not to get those awards. They just came along the way because that was his approach, right? So I think, and also I always tell my students that follow your heart, because nowadays getting a job in our field is not true in every field, but in our field is so easy. Okay, easier anyway. And so just follow your heart, and any job you take is not for life. People change employments, people change careers, right? And you have to put food on the table and a roof over your head. There's no question about that. But so I think those are the things I tell my students, and I'll tell my colleagues, younger colleagues. I'm a senior faculty now, right? I'm 76-year-old. So all the faculty colleagues I have, by and large, are my juniors and younger anyway.
So you're mentoring them as well, which we expect.
Absolutely. You have friends, and they're mentoring me.
Wonderful. So we've come close to the end of our time, but on behalf of the IEEE Awards Board, I want to thank our sponsors, MathWorks, Pearson, Lockheed Martin, our IEEE Life members, and thank Howard Wolf and Holly Stark for being here today with us. And Dr. Mohan, congratulations. And I look forward to seeing you in person in San Diego when you receive the IEEE James H. Mulligan Jr. Education Medal for all the wonderful impact that you have made on the world. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Panetta. You had been such a wonderful host and moderator. Yeah, you made it so easy so I can talk so freely. And any remarks I made about beer, please please substitute it with a root beer.
Too much sugar. But all right. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you in San Diego. Bye now.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. Bye, Howard. Bye, Holly.
Bye.
Bye.